I move that we transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders, Committee Report number 161 on Senate Bill number 2474. This is the bill on PNP Forensic DNA Database Act. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we consider Senate Bill number 2474 under Committee Report number 161 and ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure.
Consideration of the said measure is now in order. The Secretary is now requested to read the measure.
An act establishing the Philippine National Police Forensic DNA Database, appropriating funds therefore.
Mr. President, to sponsor the measure, I move that we recognize the distinguished gentleman from Davao and Bohol, no other than our idol, Senator Ronald Bato Dela Rosa, Chairperson of the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, to deliver the sponsorship speech.
The sponsor, Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Majority Leader. Mr. President, it was the year 1860 when a Swiss chemist discovered DNA. In 1986, the year I graduated from the Philippine Military Academy, DNA was used to solve a murder case in the United States of America. Today, 37 years later, I stand before this august body to sponsor Senate Bill number 2474 under the Committee Report number 161 entitled An Act Establishing the Philippine National Police Forensic DNA Database, appropriating funds therefore, or the PNP Forensic DNA Database Act. I believe it is not a coincidence, Mr. President. Deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA, is a genetic code that can be found anywhere in which a person has been in contact with, either a person or a thing. The DNA that is found in every nucleated cell of the human body can be collected from the people's skin, blood, saliva, and bone. Kung noon po ay isang foreign o alien concept ang DNA, sa pagdaan po ng mga panahon, sa tulong na rin ng telebisyon at social media, unti-unti na rin po itong naunawaan ng ating mga kababayan. Hindi na rin po mabilang ang mga pelikula o mga telenovela kung saan ang tema o plot ay may nagkapalit na mga sanggol mula pagkabata at magtatagpo sa isang happy ending. Ngunit marahil ay naging popular po ang DNA nitong mga nakaraang taon lamang. Noong unang may palabas sa telebisyon ng programa ng ginagalang na broadcaster na si Miss Jessica Soho, ang kauna-unahang documented case ng baby switching sa ating bansa. Sinubaybayan po ito ng ating mga kababayan ng higit sa 1 buwan. Bagamat pinahahalagahan ng ating kultura ang tinatawag na lukso ng dugo, ang kasong nabanggit ay naresolba pa rin sa pamamagitan ng siyensya ng DNA testing. More than being instrumental in the reuniting loved ones, the DNA base will also help us in times of calamities, Mr. President. Under the proposed measure, the DNA database system will be used to assist our government in the identification of missing persons or unidentified human remains, such as victims of natural disasters. Marahil ay kulang ang salita upang mailarawan ang sakit na nadarama ng isang nawalan ng mahal sa buhay. Lalo't higit kung ang pagkakasawi ay dinulot ng isang trahedya na hindi lamang bumawi ng kanilang buhay, kundi kumuha maging ng kanilang pagkakakilanlan. Malaki po ang ginagampanan ng DNA testing sa pagbibigay ng closure sa pamilya ng mga biktima. At minsan, sa pambihirang pagkakataon, nakapagbibigay din ang DNA results ng pag-asa para sa ilang umaasa na buhay pa ang kanilang mga kaanak. Mr. President, allow me to enumerate some accomplishments on disaster victim identification that was made possible because of DNA testing. 73 out of the 74 Kenti fire incidents victim in Valenzuela City in 2015 were successfully identified through DNA and were returned to their respective families for proper burial. In 2021, a C-130 plane crashed in Patikul, Sulu. In this crash, 51 out of 53 samples were subjected to DNA analysis for identification. 21 were positively identified and were returned to their respective families for proper burial. Recently, all 15 victims of the Tandangsura fire incident on August 31, 2023 were successfully identified through DNA and were returned to their respective families. DNA testing cannot bring the departed back to life, but somehow it brings a little semblance of peace to those who have to go through the painful process of grieving and healing. Mr. President, I believe that this DNA database will help to give a human face to victims of disaster. Hindi dapat natin hinahayaang may mamatay nang hindi man lang nakikilala o nakukumpirma kung sino sila. No matter how heartbreaking their deaths may have been, it is perhaps a final act of kindness, a last grant of dignity for them to be identified and properly mourned for in death. But aside from being instrumental in reuniting families and identifying victims of disasters, DNA for the longest time has been an essential part of crime solving. What seems to be a remarkable and technologically advanced manner of processing material evidence seen in shows such as CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, is in fact not a mere fragment in the imagination of creative writers. It is the actual standard in evidence gathering in the United States. Nakakatuwa nga pong isipin na marami sa mga episode ng true crime show ng Nasuko ni Mr. Gas Abelgas ay nakapagkita ng kahalagahan ng DNA testing. Maaari po sigurong malusutan ng isang kriminal ang kanyang kasalanan sa korte sa pamamagitan ng false testimonies o pagsisinungaling. Pero hindi po kailanman niya may pagkaila ang katotohanan na kanyang isinawalat ng isang DNA result. Mr. President, as I have said, DNA testing is the most powerful tool for human identification. DNA evidence is among the most valuable pieces of evidence used in criminal cases. Apart from identical twins, no two people have the same DNA, meaning the use of such evidence can either prove a person's innocence or guilt